In the early summer of 1944, as Allied forces pushed deeper into Western Europe, the war entered a phase defined less by grand offensives and more by narrow roads, broken villages, and hidden lines of fire. The beaches of Normandy were already behind them, but victory was still distant. German forces, though battered by air power and stretched thin by constant retreat, remained dangerous. They knew the terrain, they knew the habits of their enemies, and they still believed that discipline and tactical skill could slow the Allied advance long enough to change the war's direction. Across the hedgerow country of northern France, American infantry moved cautiously. The countryside that looked peaceful from a distance was a maze of earthen walls, dense shrubs, and shallow ditches. Each field was a potential fortress. Each curve in the road could hide an ambush. Tanks could not always maneuver. Artillery could not always see. The battlefield became personal, intimate, and deadly. In this environment, the outcome of entire operations could depend on actions taken by small groups, or even by individuals. On one such morning, under a pale grey sky, a German column advanced along a narrow rural road bordered by tall hedges and scattered trees. Infantry marched in loose formation, rifles slung but ready. Light vehicles followed behind, carrying ammunition and communications gear. Their objective was a crossroads several kilometers ahead, a key junction that would allow heavier forces to move forward and strike at American supply routes. German reconnaissance suggested that American resistance in the area was light. The advance was expected to be quick, almost routine. What the German officers did not know was that an American unit had been forced to withdraw from the area during the night. The withdrawal had been hurried and incomplete. One soldier had remained behind under direct orders. His task was not to fight a battle, it was to delay the enemy. The sniper moved before dawn. He traveled alone, staying low in the damp grass, using shallow drainage ditches to hide his movement. His rifle was wrapped in cloth to prevent any glint of metal from catching the rising sun. He carried limited ammunition, no radio, and only vague knowledge of where his own lines now stood. Escape would be difficult. If discovered, there would be no rescue. But the mission was clear: slow the Germans, make them hesitate, and buy time. He reached a bend in the road where the hedgerow narrowed and the terrain forced troops to cluster together. A fallen tree lay partly across the ditch, offering concealment and a stable firing position. From here, he could see several hundred meters of roadway. The curve would expose anyone walking through it. It was the kind of place where movement became predictable. He waited. When the first German soldiers appeared, their boots made little sound on the dirt road. Their uniforms blended into the grey-green of the countryside. They moved with caution, but without panic. The sniper raised his rifle and studied the column through his scope. He searched for officers, for men carrying maps, radios, or pistols instead of rifles. He did not want to kill randomly, he wanted to create confusion. An officer stepped forward, checking the alignment of the men and pointing ahead. The sniper breathed out slowly and fired. The officer fell backward without a sound. For a moment the column did not react. Then someone shouted. Soldiers dropped to their knees or into the ditch. Rifles swung toward the hedgerow. No one could see the shooter. Another officer ran forward, trying to restore order. The sniper waited until the man stood upright. A second shot echoed. The officer collapsed beside the first. Now panic spread. Machine guns opened fire into the bushes. Bullets ripped through leaves and branches. Grenades exploded in the ditch. Dirt and fragments of wood filled the air. The sniper did not fire. He remained still, pressed into the earth, letting the Germans waste ammunition on shadows. Minutes passed. The firing slowed. Soldiers whispered and gestured. They believed they were facing a hidden group, perhaps a platoon or more. No one wanted to be the next man to step into the open. When movement resumed, it was cautious. Small groups advanced a few meters at a time, stopping often. A radio operator stepped forward to send a message back. The sniper fired again. The man dropped beside his equipment. The advance halted once more. Each shot was followed by long silence. Each silence forced the Germans to wait. What had been planned as a quick march became a series of stops and starts. The road became a trap of uncertainty. The sniper shifted position slowly, crawling a few meters after each shot. He did not want a pattern to form. His goal was not to kill many men, it was to convince them that danger was everywhere. Behind the German column, time was slipping away. Allied aircraft could soon appear. American defenses could be strengthening ahead. The longer the column remained exposed on the road, the greater the risk became. Meanwhile, kilometers away, American units regrouped around the crossroads. Engineers dug shallow trenches, infantry set up machine gun nests, artillery observers found high ground and prepared coordinates. None of this would have been possible if the German column had arrived on schedule. The sniper did not know this. He knew only that every pause mattered. The Germans tried a new approach. A squad moved into a nearby field, attempting to outflank the suspected ambush position. The sniper watched them through the tall grass. He waited until they crossed a shallow depression that left them briefly exposed. 2 shots rang out in quick succession. 2 men fell. The others scattered, convinced they had stumbled into a trap. A mortar team was brought forward. Shells burst along the hedgerow, tearing apart branches and churning the soil. The sniper pressed flat against the ground as debris rained down. The explosions continued for several minutes. When they stopped, silence returned. German infantry advanced again, expecting resistance. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a single shot came from a different angle. A soldier fell near the front of the column. Confusion returned instantly. Orders were shouted. The column stopped yet again. By midday, heat mixed with fear. The sniper's shoulder ached. Sweat soaked his uniform. He counted his remaining rounds and fired only when necessary. The Germans began to suspect that they were facing only 1 or 2 shooters. But even one invisible rifle was enough. Every step forward felt like a gamble with death. The German commander grew increasingly concerned. Reports from other units suggested that American resistance ahead was stiffening. The opportunity for a quick breakthrough was fading. He ordered artillery forward. Heavy shells struck the hedgerow and the fallen tree. The sniper's cover shattered, splinters flew. He crawled backward, using smoke and dust to hide his movement. When the bombardment ended, the Germans advanced again, cautiously, scanning every bush and shadow. There was no fire at first. Then another single shot rang out from farther back. Another man fell. The advance froze. By mid-afternoon, the German commander made his decision. The delay had become too costly. The road was now exposed to air attack. The Americans were clearly preparing defenses. What was meant to be a rapid thrust had turned into a dangerous pause. He ordered the column to pull back and wait for armored support. The sniper fired no more shots. That night, he moved through the fields and rejoined his unit. No one knew what he had done. No report recorded his action. There was no ceremony. The crossroads remained in American hands. Days later, American troops passing through the area found shell craters, broken branches, and bodies along the road. They assumed a fierce battle had taken place. In reality, it had been a duel between one man and an entire column. The importance of this action lay not in the number of men killed, but in the time gained. War is measured not only in territory, but in minutes and hours. A delayed advance can mean reinforcements arriving instead of retreating, artillery firing instead of being overrun, and defenses forming where none existed before. German doctrine depended on momentum. Once an attack slowed, it lost its power. By forcing repeated pauses, the sniper robbed the column of confidence and speed. What began as caution became paralysis. This was not unique. Throughout the war, individuals delayed entire formations by creating uncertainty. The battlefield was too large for total control. Gaps existed everywhere. A single rifle in the right place could shape events far beyond its range. The sniper thought only of wind, distance, and timing. Yet his action had strategic meaning. German soldiers later believed they had faced a coordinated ambush. Fear multiplied his effect. By 1944, Germany was losing initiative everywhere. Offensives became shorter. Time now favored the Allies. The sniper's action reflected this shift. He did not win the war. He slowed it in the right place. Historians would later draw arrows on maps and count divisions. Rarely would they mention a man behind a fallen tree. Yet without such moments, those arrows would point elsewhere. On that morning, a German column failed to reach a crossroads because it stopped in doubt. That doubt was created by patience and precision, not by tanks or speeches, but by stillness. This is how one American sniper stopped a German advance, not by destroying an army, but by breaking its rhythm. In a war of millions, he proved that one rifle could still decide what happened next.